Lively and interesting discussion will be moderated by Mr. Sotiris Pastras. Welcome. Welcome again. Now we are more in this panel, so I'll start right away with a question, launching a difficult question addressed to Madam Panagiotopoulou, an expert on communication. So as an expert of communication, I would like you to describe us in just 1 minute what Just Go Zero program entails, which runs in Terzis. Good evening. This program, Just Go Zero Terzis, is a zero waste program. That means a radical change of culture, redefining the notion of waste. To make things more concrete, imagine a place where there are no public bins, nothing, no color of bins whatsoever. Imagine a place where all the citizens, all the inhabitants and businessmen have special equipment in their households to make a first triage of the creation of waste. Imagine a place where after this official triage, the collection takes place door to door with special equipped minivans. The waste is already separated. It is transferred to a special park called Circular Innovation Park, and then the proper right management follows. Finally, imagine a place without any wasteland, since there is no wasteland, it is being abolished, and a place where currently recycling and reuse of materials exceeds 85% on a permanent basis for the past 8 months that this program is operation. This is Terzis, Just Go Zeros in a nutshell. I can elaborate on that, but actually this is a small revolution in the daily life and the way each one experiences one's relation with what one produces, where something is no longer useful but can be useful in a new form of life. Now, let us move a little bit northern to Astypalea. Someone going to Astypalea, I don't know how many have been fortunate to visit it recently. You will see an electric vehicle for taxi, electric vehicles of the police and the municipality, which are also electric. Quite soon, the island will also have the first totally electric ambulance. So I ask Mr. Stefanopoulos, what is Astypalea project and how is the Volkswagen Group involved? Thank you for the invitation. Astypalea project is the result of cooperation of the MOU of Volkswagen Group with the Greek state and is in force since April of 2020. It is developed in 2 different pillars. The first is an energy swap of Astypalea. Astypalea is a non-interconnected island, and until 2026 it will have an energy transition more than 85% through RES. The second pillar, where Kosmocar and Volkswagen Group is actively involved, as well as Moderator, is a nexus of synergies for the development of electric mobility in the country in a scheme of subsidies of both public subsidies and Volkswagen Group and Kosmocar. And the third pillar in this project are the so-called smart mobilities. In other words, services aiming at the use of e-vehicles, therefore the use and the need to serve any need with a view to reducing the vehicles without, however, having any deficiency in serving the transport needs of the inhabitants. And the third pillar, if this is feasible, developing new projects and new innovations and their application after having secured, of course, that these technologies are absolutely secure, as is, for instance, the very much advertised autonomous driving. Thank you. I move straight forward to Mr. Terzis from Alpha Bank, a bank that really believed in this program. You launched 3-phased actions, which does not include only the preferential funding, as we all thought, but also the environmental public awareness of local society. What does this project concern where Alpha Bank is also involved? Thank you for the invitation and the honor you bestow on us on this invitation. Aggelos referred to this framework, setting the background of Astypalaia. For us, Astypalaia had the following characteristic: how one can marry a business activity, and we are a bank that has a presence to the island, with the real goal of a major company, such as a bank, that is to totally secure each time that one has also a social operation license. That is, that what you do in the proper way, and it is of concern to the local society, the local community. So the first we had to do is to introduce a loan product. We did that so as in combination with the state and the incentives set by the Kosmocar, by the Volkswagen Group, for the citizens to have preferential terms for an e-vehicle. The second thing we did would be to be the big sponsors of this major initiative of Astibus, a new platform, that is, which can substitute traditional buses on terms of shared mobility, and we also participate in that. But this didn't suffice, because we had the feeling that this whole endeavor, which was also awarded and is renowned globally, lacked something. And that was that although the activities that were already designed had a character top-down approach, we wanted to mobilize a little bit more the people. That is, future citizens, inhabitants of Astypalaia, to share knowledge and ideas for a change of culture and paradigm, and at the end of the day, have them assuming the responsibility for the change in their place. So we addressed the children of Astypalaia through this activity under the auspices, of course, of the Ministry of Education. The people, the children of the 5th and 6th year of the elementary school collected empty bottles from the beaches. They created their own sustainable autonomous greenhouse, and by autonomous and smart greenhouse we mean that it had solar panels. What was the derivative from the climatization of the school. They created that and they presented it to everyone, not only in the family of Alpha, but also the Prime Minister, who came and had a meeting with the children. I have to confess that is amongst the few moments that I have felt so deep enthusiasm and without special incitation. Their involvement, the children's involvement, is the thing, the signal that really gave us the green light that we do something good. I remember the bank CEO, Dimitris Psaltis, who said, well, those smiles of the children and professors really corroborated the feeling that we do something good here. So we remain there. We pursue the effort, both in the educational part and supporting the platforms for the mobility of citizens and tourists. But I honestly believe that we would not be able to do any of these three, and we could not have left the island without having mobilized the students before. Excellent. I go back to the lady. I take Mr. Stefanopoulos, Mr. Terzis, and all the present persons here, and we go to Tilos tomorrow. We'll find no dustbin. No. So you tell me that you have trained the 780 permanent inhabitants, residents, to manage their waste. Now, various questions rise. How much time did you need for this training? How did you manage? And most importantly, and because it is in fashion lately, how many were the deniers of this change? Well, let me tell you that this is the most important part. Us as company, we have been elaborating technical solutions for recycling, for collection, management of waste, and so forth. All that is very important, but that cannot be done unless it is fully adopted and embraced by the citizen, the employee, the employer, to whom we address. So that was the number one interest and concern from the beginning. First of all, We also started with the local administration because there's no other solution, no solution that can be imposed without the municipal council. We asked for the support. There was unanimous support, luckily, and we also asked for the support of the region. Once this was secured, we turned to the children as well. This is the first part, the first important and critical target group, and I will agree with George, gives us the indication, the sign that they will do something well, how they embrace it, how they deal with it, how you can see with young children of the elementary that won't come in depth to what you say and respond to the small exercises, paintings you ask, so for them to better understand such a concept. Further on, we organized open meetings, targeted meetings with businessmen. That was especially restaurant owners and hotel owners who have had in their own way to support all those changes. We made workshops on circular economy. We brought the renowned chef Dimitris Karmotzos to speak about food waste that concerns all households and all companies one way or another. We explained, we had them inspired on what all this entails, what it means, Second Life, with all materials we've got, and which are no longer useful. Another thing, most important, that I also mentioned originally in my introduction, is that we offered them equipment. The equipment shows someone how to do things, and along that they got guidelines. We visited everyone door to door. We entered their houses, spoke with everyone, and launched this human relationship entailing question and answer, incitation, encouragement, all those characteristics that help any venture to move ahead. Further on, we have been present, we are present in the island. From our company, we have people who are permanent residents there. They address questions. We offer and give solutions to what is asked. An important part when one has made the change is how to maintain this change. So we have exploited technology there. We have developed a special app that all Tilos inhabitants have. And all the clients we cooperate with in our program Just Go Zero, where they can manage their own attitude. So they see what they recycle, how, what's their progress, and thus they can assess themselves. We also upload mini quiz, give them tips on recycling. And the last thing, which is not precisely this educational part we've been discussing, but it's very important, is that at the end of the day, this program, our program in Tilos, has currently created more than 10,000 new jobs. Therefore, you understand that this does not respond to Tilos inhabitants, but a great number. Therefore, one can demonstrate the value at the same time, the great promotion of the island, visitors who came to the island due to this program to see how it operates and also visit Tilos, they understood there that they are at the center of a great interest that exceeded even the national borders, and how they gradually become a paradigm for the other Dodecanese islands. We've all witnessed that, how there's a kind of a very fair competition between those islands. So all that helps. Last but not least, the time we needed. We started the communication in June of 2021. The first waste collection took place on the 1st of December of 2021, and now all households are covered. We went door to door around February, and now in 2 months we will have completed 12 months of full implementation. There are denials. They are in fashion for some way. They can be found everywhere. Thank God it's a very small percentage, and happily they are convinced by the others. First of all, because they have no other choice in Tilos. There's no bin, there's no dustbin, so they have to to give it to our system. What can go wrong is to make an erroneous distinction of the currents, of the separation of the streams. And it is on that we make great efforts, so as for them to be able to fully embrace, to understand it. Mr. Stefanopoulos, what was the response of the Terzis residents in your effort? Do you have any examples to offer? Well, you touched upon the most critical point on the success of the project. When this project becomes a reality, how this is being embraced by society. I'll give you an example for each pillar where our group is involved, relating to e-mobility and the penetration of e-vehicles in the island. For us, it was most important and quickly identified that there was an issue, geographically speaking, on the proximity of our products. Therefore, we created a site exclusively for the Astipala inhabitants, where we explained the benefits they could draw through those programs. We brought all the customer journey on the Isle of Astipala. Therefore, through specific and cooperative actions with the municipality of Astipala, the residents were able both to drive all the vehicles included in the list of the program, and then in cooperation with all the banks, they could get specific quotes for the way they would pay the e-vehicle. And the result, therefore, to date is that there are 20 happy e-vehicle owners on the island. As you mentioned, taxi, the single eye of Astipala, is electric. It's an IT4. Quite important was the contribution both of the municipality that has the responsibility for developing the chargers, because one needs a network of chargers, and on the other hand, the Volkswagen Group, from the very first day of the commencement of this cooperation, has made a donation of the public use vehicles to the municipality. Therefore, this was easy. One could easily visualize this vision and the goals pursued. Vis-à-vis smart mobility services, for us it was very difficult to make it clear both to inhabitants and the island visitors. Because imagine that Astipala, in an off-season period, in relation to a tourist period, is completely disparate. Therefore, the issue of information on smart mobilities was critical importance. At the end, on critical data, very important data, the ASTI bus, that is urban bus service, that is for the transport of inhabitants and tourists with a chauffeur, has already completed 20,000 itineraries, and urban sharing service has completed more than 5,000 electric kilometers on the island. This is a good start, I believe, and it is an onset for us to further develop this project. Excellent. Mr. Terzis, I humbly think that the introduction of individualized products from a bank is necessary and a sine qua non for the success. So I would like to raise a simple but perhaps difficult question. Do we have other Astipalias in the future? It's not only sine qua non, it is also the prerequisite for the survival of all companies, including banks. One must, due to one's role in economy, to show the way. And this can be attained in two main ways. The one is to train your clientele bases, the companies themselves. In some cases, the bank is not merely a mediator, is also the one that will impose, within inverted commas, the change, because there are supervisory authorities that set the framework for funding, for loans. Therefore, the one job to do as a bank is to train your customers to see the risk of the non-transition. Madame Kouduri mentioned that beforehand, and the opportunities, even business opportunities for profits to be drawn through that transition. The second thing to do is to educate the audience, either with such actions as we discussed in Astipale and Telos, or through the product offering done. And how can you trade them? Either as active citizens to have sustainability in their criteria, or as customers, consumers, to select our products or that of another bank if they see that this best serve this need. Small steps are needed from each company, each private entity, so as to jointly move ahead. I believe that we currently have the positive conditions so as to move ahead, even if the triggering factors are disagreeable, have the great political uncertainty and imbalance, the energy crisis, the Russian invasion, but progress is here. Alpha Bank will be close, and we will obviously have more Astipales, and I hope that we will be seeing them in our next meeting. Madame Panagiotopoulou, you referred to restaurants and hotels. Does that mean that tourists are also assisting this change? Of course, as I said beforehand, they cannot do otherwise. They come to this island, so enter this new culture, this new condition we have launched. But this is an important question, because the truth is that tourism brings about an explosion of the island population. It makes the population, it triples the population for 2.5 months. So this is an important target group. I should say that on many occasions, tourists come from countries which are far more sensitive vis-à-vis the environment and waste management, and this has greatly helped our effort. Nevertheless, one must always be shown the way. So, in all hotels and rooms to let in Telos, we have equipment for waste triage, and we also entered the QR code that would make reference to our website, because we had the directions given for the residents and the visitors, so as to read there to know what happens, why it happens, how it is done, and so forth. So this has greatly helped. Furthermore, Telos has a very big camping, and there we established a whole recycling station with all the direct guidelines, QR code. We had soaps individually packaged in cooperation with Cocomat. So a huge effort was made, because we want them also to be helping us, and they are also the ones that convey the message. So this gives another dimension to all those dimensions on how Greece gradually is promoted as a place of destination that works on sustainability and sustainable development, and offering solutions on issues that are of concern for the whole planet. You mentioned the preparatory meeting some weeks ago that you usually travel to Astipale, and I wonder, is this whole effort worth it? There's a lot of money and time involved. Of course it's worth. Yes, I say categorically, yes, definitely worth the effort and the cost. Listen, this kind of projects, when they are so broad, they obviously involve a lot of time committed and resources at large. But if one puts the balance, the vision is always prevailing. And when you see that this vision is shared by other bodies, organizations, and society at large, then obviously it is worth every effort. You said something wonderful. You referred to social operation license. If I'm not mistaken, you're the only bank in Astipala. Is there a special responsibility stemming of that? Well, yes and no, and I will explain what I mean. Banks is not a mere company. I do not say that in a derogatory manner, but they are supervised. They are blood transfusion bodies in a company, in a society, and we must secure, in combination with the natural network and the alternative channels, the access of all citizens to the bank system. And this is a very specific obligation. I must remind you, despite the fact that we had no advertisement, no commercial of the banks at the time, that they were open during the black days of the COVID. All bank branches were open when the whole of the economy was shut down. So this is a public infrastructure. This is what banks are. Obviously, when one is in a small island, this responsibility focuses on one bank, one group, and is heavier responsibility. But if the question is whether we do this action because we happen to have the only branch of a bank in the island, the answer is that obviously, but we are not so clientele-centered, to be honest. We would not do actions only where we've got our branches, because we don't use them as a commercial trick, a commercial publicity stunt. So we exploit the opportunities offered by such a small place so as to have this non-mediated relation with the people and the children of the isle. Well, there are only 4 minutes left. I would please ask you to address a question to each other. Let me start with Mr. Terzis, who has many years of experience. So I would ask him to address a question to Madam Panagiotopoulou. Well, Madam Panagiotopoulou left some kind of insinuation about the deniers. And this a point that gives food to these deniers is that whatever we do is an ad hoc action with a publicity goal, actually. The question is that given that none of our resources are inexorable, what are the goals? What do you believe should be done so as for these actions to have broader opening to the country and therefore address the deniability? Yes, the deniers. Yes, precisely. The problem is scalability. How can this be proliferated outside the small area where it has been implemented? The truth is that in such a program, what we try to do, and that's why it was fully subsidized by Polygreen, would be to have the possibility to check different solutions, to make tests and trials, and by trial and error, change course and so forth, so as to conclude in a system, a proposal that would be sustainable and could be therefore transferable. So currently we do have the technical solution. It is absolutely adaptable to different scales, different conditions, different economies on their respective studies. So this is not a problem. The problem lies and the challenge lies on how people will embrace this, and therefore the prerequisites for something like that to be done is to have the will from the central authority, municipal authority, but also the citizens. That is, what I see lately is that there are people that ask for that they ask for this. Just Go Zero, for instance, the Astipala e-mobility program, they want it too. And this gradually nurtures a dialogue, and therefore there's lobbying from the basis to the top. And there are organizations such as WWF that may ask it. Once this is sought after, what is done by all of us is that we have created a base of technical solution that can be adaptable to any size that is asked for. In conclusion, we currently have an open discussion with many municipalities of Greece, insular municipalities, with mainland areas as well, so it's a long list of areas, and a country abroad. Therefore, it starts getting momentum. You haven't finished yet. You must raise a question to Mrs. Stefanopoulos. Okay. Now that we've concluded, now that summer is over, I would like to imagine that I wake up in Astypalea tomorrow. So for an inhabitant of the island, what has changed in his daily life? Such a program in an island that has its own the way they work, custom, so network, what changes for them in their daily lives, for a permanent resident, that is, of Astypalea? In their daily lives, it's not something radically changed. The pace of life remains the same. This project does not affect the daily life, the soil, in a way, in a negative way, let's say. On the other hand, if you were a permanent resident there, you would be able to use the Asti bus services by buying a package of transfers and have within the next 10 minutes a vehicle getting you where you wish on zero noise and zero pollutants. And with the other prerogatives that are given to the residents, you might get an ID3, for instance, on a 50% discount in comparison to me, for instance, who am not an Astypalea permanent resident. The basic, however, is that in this project, nothing changes, brings about any negative impact on the daily lives, because the project operates on the substance and not the image. Well, if I can make a comment, just the fact to be in a place that has no noise or pollutant definitely changed daily life for the better. Mr. Stefanopoulos, we close with a question addressed to Mr. Terzis. Well, George, we have met on the island. Now, beyond the island, those projects are wonderful to be disseminated in the organizations. Therefore, how do you view this project in your organization, in your bank? How do you see your bank adopting today or tomorrow this project? No, I have so many things to say, will not allow us. Anyway, it's not only the values that the project incorporates per se, it must be in tune with the values of our bank. If one does something because it's trendy or in fashion, that will show and go below the bar. So what was Astypalea for us? Astypalea for us was the opportunity to show that a major program of CSR existing, along with that of education, health, and interventions in many Aegean islands. We will make an account of this first cycle of activity starting from Iraklia, and I invite you to see that. We want to demonstrate that all these open new subjects, such as circular economy or financial literacy, areas where banks have the knowledge and expertise, and it is the obvious field of operation, or should be. In Greece, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Abroad, it does. So this is the first part. The other one is that, as it happens with all of us, same applies with Alpha, who have a specific program concerning substitution of cars with vehicle ones, reducing its footprint, and so forth. What is most important, however, as it is mentioned in those projects, it's not merely that we come and relate them with other actions, it's that they refuel the organization. It's no better way to tell all our colleagues following us. We speak of a small city of 7,000 people who work in Alpha Bank. It's a small city. Demonstrate them in action. What is the new goal, the new principles, the new values of this bank with such a long history behind and wants to have equal long future ahead? So we adapt. And I believe Astypalea and every kind of such project has this characteristic of the paradigm on how we should operate. You were very polite. You didn't interrupt me. We warmly thank you. We thank you for your patience. We only exceeded by 3 minutes.